Hi, I'm Alan Murdoch. For the past 20 years, I've been buying, fixing, and selling properties right here in Southern Arizona. And I want to buy your property. Whether it's a house, apartment, commercial building, or vacant land, regardless of the condition or the situation, I want to talk to you. When you sell to me, I pay cash and it's hassle-free. No repairs, no closing costs, and no commissions. If you have a property you don't want to deal with and you want a quick solution, call, text, or visit selltoalan.com. Again, that's selltoalan.com.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
Good. I'm good.
How's
Excited
the dad
living
life?
Oh man, that sigh is a good sigh, right? It is so. I'm learning so much about myself, so much about my wife, so much about life. I mean, there's no part of my life right now that isn't changing. You know, it's incredible though. I'm loving every moment of it.
Would you say it's like way faster now? Like everything just feels like high speed.
It's crazy. He'll be 2 months.
Wow.
Well, my wife would correct me. He'll be 8 weeks. I think in like 3 or 4 days.
I learned that not too long ago.
Wait
It's
a minute.
weeks.
She's like, no. Yeah, he'll be
Yeah.
eight weeks here in a few days.
Weeks are not the same as months.
No, they're not. And I used to give parents a hard time. Yeah, no, your baby's like 6 months or whatever. I was like, no, he's however many months and however many days. Like, oh, okay. I used to think that was the weirdest thing, but now it's like a real thing.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of trying to figure that out though.
Yeah.
But
So whenever I'll ask, so how old is your baby? I look at my wife and, oh yeah, that's how old he is. No, but he's almost 8 weeks. He's almost 8 weeks. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, it's great having you here, man, and I'm gonna pick your brain about some stuff. I
Please,
know that you had talked with Clint and you talked about ministry and what you're doing at OVCN, and there's been this topic of discussion that's came up a couple times here, and it's been on some of our other podcast shows, and it's this number that really stands out, and it's very concerning, and it has to do with like guys in our group,
Sure.
in our age group, right? Like the generation, and it when I look at it, I can't help but kind of feel confused, concerned, like I had said. But also there's just always this part of me that's like, well, how do we serve and how do we make this better? How do we change this? What is the cause of it? What is the root cause of it? And this is what the number I'm talking about. 7.2 million men have essentially dropped out of the workforce.
It's crazy.
What are you doing? Right? What's going on?
I did not know that statistic. That is crazy. I don't even know how to answer that. I think that there's so many things in this world that, kind of going back to what Clint and I were talking about, is I feel like a lot of these men and these higher positions in life are looking for things that are, instant, and men don't want to wait anymore.
Yeah.
Right? I think for them it's this social status of how I can get money quick, how I can do this without actually putting work in, right? And I don't know, it's an overwhelming statistic to think of. I really don't know how to approach that. I don't know. It's fascinating though.
It really is. When you're dealing with because you're dealing with young men, right? In your ministry for the most part. And women? Yeah. You're dealing with young folks in that.
Little bit everyone in there.
Is there anything going on that might point to why this is happening, or is there a certain thing that you're really working on that has to do with something like this, with men wanting to just kind of go, hey, you know what, I'm out.
Sure.
I'm just gonna hang out here, stay at mom's house.
Sure.
Eat Cheetos on the couch.
Yeah.
Right. Not take care of myself. Not take care of my physical self. Not take care of my mental self. Kind of just be here, play video games, call it off.
Sure. I'm wondering if part of it is a comfortability issue. Like people are men are so comfortable, right? And for me, one of the things that I talk about with a lot of these younger men is stepping out of your comfort zone, trying to be that leader, trying to be that and be the initiator, right? You can't have things given to you all the time. and expect things to change. So my biggest thing is you're not going to grow unless you're out of your comfort zone. I think
Right.
a lot of men aren't willing to grow, or it's not that they don't want to grow, but growing is too much work for them.
Yeah.
Right? So they're comfortable, and you're not going to grow when you're comfortable.
Yeah.
So I think that we've catered this mentality of you do, and this applies to both men and women, but I think we've catered this mentality of you do what you're comfortable with,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
If you're, finances aside, I guess I'll use this analogy here, but finances aside for the most part, if you're barely scraping by and you're comfortable, good for you, right? If you're struggling but still can buy, good for you, right? And I'm not saying that finances solve all the problems, but I am saying that you can't complain if you're not willing to get your hands dirty, right? I think a lot of the people that I've interacted with are so comfortable with where they're at, and they feel so. They see what's ahead of them. They see the challenge that's ahead of them, and they're not willing to climb that mountain, right? They're not willing to take that first step up that mountain. For them, they're going to take an elevator. They're going to take a plane, right? They're going to want to go around that mountain. And by going around that mountain or using some sort of, cheating device, if you will, to get up that mountain,
Right.
what lessons are you missing out on, right?
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's no fun staying in the valley.
No.
Why would you want to stay in the valley?
No, what view are you looking at? You're looking at a couple cool rock walls maybe, but what's the view from up there, right? People are men and women and people that are comfortable. I mean, it boils down to they're comfortable. They don't like.
Are they happy though?
Oh man,
It's
that's
comfortable and happy. I don't know.
I wouldn't even say. To
them?
me, I think happiness is circumstantial, but joy is a mindset, right? So if you were to ask me, like, are they happy? Sure, they could be happy. But are they filled with joy, right? Like, are they living a life that brings them joy? Are they living a life that satisfies that joy-bringing receptor in the brain, right? And I'd have to say no, right? You can tell yourself, I'm happy, I'm fine, I'm happy, right? But are you? I think that's a very good question, right?
Yeah.
Maybe to them, they don't know what joy is.
Yeah.
Maybe to them, they don't know that happiness, right?
Yeah.
And they're not willing to scrape their knee climbing up that hill to see what that joy looks like at the top of the mountain.
Yeah. I feel this is just my personal opinion.
Sure.
And I can people can say whatever they want to me. You can email me, post about it, whatever.
Sure.
You're not gonna offend me.
Yeah.
Okay. I got thick skin. The trophy generation is here.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right? So I remember years back when I was coaching sports, and I had talked about this on a podcast previously, probably a couple of years ago, but there was this idea that everybody on the team got a trophy for participating, right? And it comes back to that comfortable thing. Well, I'm comfortable getting my trophy. I'm here, so I'm getting a trophy. I'm comfortable not going out and taking some of the hits that the guys that are really trying to be catalysts for the team, the ones that are trying to score points. Those guys are getting a little more beat up than I am.
Sure.
But guess what? They're getting the same trophy that I am, right? And that kind of mentality has just moved into today's society where everybody's expecting a trophy, expecting something to come to them without facing the challenges, without going up the mountain, without taking risks, without being uncomfortable. And I hate to say it, but it's the parents' fault.
Sure.
It's the coach's fault. When we talk about blaming anything, that concept is to blame.
Sure.
There's evidence to back it. How do you disagree with that fact? Right?
You can't.
You can't.
Right? I was cleaning out my shed, I don't know, 5-6 months ago, preparing for baby. And I found some old participation trophies of mine. Right. And part of me is like, oh, these are kind of cool. Maybe I'll keep them. And then I'm digging some more stuff out. And I remember I think it was in 5th or 6th grade, I got a what's it called? Science fair. I got a science fair trophy, right? Like I think I got like 3rd place in Southern Arizona. Right. For some, I'm like, oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
But it said 3rd place. I mean, it wasn't 1st place, but 3rd place, Kevin Dunlap, the other people that I was with. And that's sitting next to that, great soccer year, 2001 or 2002 or whatever. And I was like, wait a minute, I see myself keeping it. I haven't thrown either one of those away yet, but looking at the two of those, that science trophy, I was like, that's pretty cool. I earned that, right?
Yeah.
But that other one, it was given to me.
Well, what does it signify, though? That other one, right? Like, let's talk through that. What does it signify?
Which
the participation one?
That you were there, right? That you went through the motions is what I would think. I think that, I don't know, thanks for showing up, right?
Yeah.
You know, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks for, and I'll kind of plug what you said, you know, this might be an unpopular opinion, but, you know, on a little Johnny that's sitting in the corner, you know, picking his nose or whatever, you know, he gets the same trophy that, you know, David gets. And David was running up and down that field, right? So it's when you put it in those are very two extremes, right? And of course you have people in between, and you know, am I saying that person that did all those great things deserve that trophy? Absolutely. But you know, on the other side, what does that look like?
Right.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and it brings the question: how do we get here to 7.2 million men not in the workforce?
Crazy. Well, I'd be interested to see the demographic, like the ages on that.
Yeah,
right? Are there ages on that? Are there?
Yeah, I believe so. I know it's in our age group, man. Because how old are you?
I'll be 30 in November.
30. Yeah. So I'm 34. Yeah. Yeah. Romans 8:18. So Kirby's talking in my ear.
Yeah.
Let me get to this article here. Yeah, between 25 and 54 years old.
It's crazy.
Now, I get it, that higher area, but the fact that it's as low as 25, like those are individuals that are potentially just getting out of college, that have college degrees, you know, that are 25, that's prime right there, right? That's where you kind of can go and start making that impact for yourself and for others.
Well, if it's been given to you without any effort, how are you going to start working on that on your own, right? How are you going to, if it's been given to you all these times, and then all of a sudden it's not being given to you, how do you then know how to work for it?
Yeah.
Right? How do you know what am I trying to say here? I'm getting caught up on my own words here. Give me a second.
No,
how are you supposed to know the process of trial and error if you've been given that prize when all you were error? I know that sounds a little intense, but right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, how are you supposed to know that process without ever having gone through that process?
Right. And time's ticking. I think that's one of the craziest things for me with when I see people kind of settling is what I call when, like, they're just like, all right, this is my plateau right here. I'm good. I'm comfortable here.
Yeah.
Right. Because I see a lot of people in my life that are comfortable, but I'll have conversations with them, you know, behind closed doors or away from other people. And there's no joy like you were talking about. And when you're just settling, you got to recognize that these days on this planet are not guaranteed at all.
No.
Like, one of us could get really hurt or something unfortunate could happen on our way home today.
Sure.
Right? And, like, the imprint you left here, like, are you good with that?
Yeah.
Are you good with your kids knowing that's the imprint you left?
Sure.
Was that the best you could do? Because I just feel like when you know that time is like let's say you're terminally ill or something unfortunate like that. When you know that that's coming, I think that's a question that gets asked a lot. It's like, was that the best I could do?
Sure.
You know, because I have a friend who he was working with OVCN. He would go to the old folks' homes and he would have conversations with these individuals that knew, like, there's kind of a date, like, I know kind of where I'm going, and all of them would say the same thing. They had regrets that they didn't do certain things.
Sure.
They didn't go hang out with their family more. They didn't try harder in what they were trying to accomplish. They didn't get to the goals that they had set forth. They kind of just gave up and were like, hey, I didn't make it happen.
Well, it makes me think I've given an abridged version of this talk, and the little teaser is, you know, everyone says new year, new me, right? But it boils down to, and there's little nuances in that talk that I've done. But for me, it's not new year, new me. It's new year, same God. Right?
Yeah.
But with that, my best isn't your best, and vice versa, right? So the biggest thing is you look back and you say, oh, did you do your best, or did you give it your all, right? And so there are times in our life when, let's say 100%, if we're using a scale here, right? Like 100% is you were literally doing everything you can. There's not an ounce of you that's being left behind, right? We can't give that 100% all the time, right? There are times when we're a little more tired. And so if you can only give 75%, give all of that 75%. On the lower end, if you can only give like 40%, give all of that 40%. Don't give 20% of it, right? And so I think that when people, going back to your original question of, men in the workforce and people being comfortable, I think that we have to recognize that there's so many people with this mentality of, if I can't give all of myself in this moment, then why give any of myself, right? And so it's this huge sacrifice, if you will. It's not sacrifice, that's not the right word. It's this exchange that isn't reciprocated, right? So when you're given 100%, regardless of what it is, there's going to be some return, or at least there should be some return, right? And so for us, we're so comfortable with recognizing that, okay, I'm getting 100%, I'm going to get a decent amount of stuff back, right? If I'm only given 40%, then why? I'm not going to get the reward that I wanted, but then it goes back to that thing of your imprint, right? Are you tiptoeing in the sand? Yeah. Or are you taking big, confident steps? Recognizing that those steps are going to be behind you forever. People are going to see that. They're going to see maybe when you broke a leg, right? But they're going to see that this is going to sound silly. They're going to see the imprint of that leg dragging across the sand. Right? They're going to see that you tried in that moment. You gave everything that you could in that moment. So I think, I don't know, I love that analogy of 100%, 40%, 70%, wherever it is, give everything that you have in every single one of those moments.
Yeah, because that's another thing too with social media we were talking about. Like, you can't give those like what do you call them, influencers that are like, you got to get up at 3 a.m, you got to run every day, you got to do this every day. You're like, that's not sustainable, right?
No,
what you're talking about, that's that sustainable best, right? Because like you said, you can't be balls to the wall all day.
No,
like,
you can't.
You're not going to survive. You're not going to come out looking good, feeling good, being good. Like, there's just no way. So it's like, I love that concept a lot.
Yeah.
What do you tell young men today that are struggling with alcoholism, drug addiction, porn addiction, low motivation?
Sure.
How are you talking to these young men these days? Because you're working with them.
Sure.
How are they getting through that college experience with facing challenges like this?
Sure.
What are you saying to them?
So, I mean, I'm going to start with, as cliche as it is, it's not cliche. Don't give up, do your best, right? Celebrate the little victories. So I actually struggled with pornography pretty significantly in high school and into my, college years and stuff like that. And it took a toll on me, man. That's a conversation that I'd love to have at another point, but it messed me up. Right. And so I came to this point where it was very cyclical. I would fall, and I would hate myself, and I'd beat myself up, and I'd be so low that I'd fall again, right? And so I started creating milestones. I started creating little goals for myself, right? And this is a concept that I believe can be applied to any sort of addiction, right? Alcoholism, drugs, pornography, whatever it is that you are struggling with, right? Aim for a day. Aim for 2 days. Aim for 3 days. Aim for 4 days, right? And let's say that you make it a day, and then you fall hard. Yeah. You win a day. That's awesome, right? Let's say you make it a week and you fall. You win a whole week. That's awesome. Celebrate that victory. The analogy that I use with them, and you'll recognize this, I don't know why it is that my brain does this, but I use a lot of analogies. So if you're riding a bike, right? If you're riding a bike in a race and you're 20 miles in out of a 40-mile race, you fall off that bike. Yeah. Right? Where are you? How far have you gone? Yeah. 20 miles, right? Look back at that 20 miles. Just because you fell off your bike doesn't mean that you're back at the beginning. You've come so far. And I think it goes back to that other analogy of oh, well, I already fell. I already messed up. Why do I even bother finishing, right? You've gone 20 stinking miles. That's an incredible accomplishment. Next couple miles might be rough, but if you can get 20 miles, you can get the rest of the 20 miles, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might have to take a little bit slower, but put your best foot forward. And this is another thing that I tell them in regards to, the whole putting your best foot forward. It goes back to the percentage of what you can give. If you can only take a half step forward, take that half step forward and own it, right? Another thing that I tell a lot of these young men is recognize your triggers. There's this talk that I listened to. I don't remember who did it years ago. I think it was when I was in high school. And find out where your triggers are. Your trigger isn't when. Let me reword that. Temptation doesn't start when you've got the bottle in your hand and the pop is open, right?
Right.
Temptation starts long before that. Temptation doesn't start when you get to the store to purchase that alcohol. It doesn't start when you turn on the street to where the liquor store is.
Mm-hmm.
It starts when you get off the couch, right? So recognizing where your temptation starts and then doing things in those moments to address that temptation, right? Mm-hmm. It's so much easier saying, no, I'm not going to get in my car, drive to the store and buy that alcohol versus, no, I'm not going to drink this, right? What's easier?
Yeah.
Right? And so using those analogies, with pornography, if it's for me, one of the things was I couldn't bring my phone in the bathroom for years,
mm-hmm.
right? Another thing was, I'm trying to think. One thing that I would do, this sounds silly, but if I ever found myself tempted, I'd just stand up, right? Yeah. So rewiring your brain, and that same concept can be applied to drugs. Mm-hmm. Is it, where do you do those drugs? Is it with certain people? Is it at certain times of the day? Switch up your schedule. Mm-hmm. If driving home from work, you pass by a certain spot that reminds you, I used to do this there in that spot, mm-hmm. take a different way home. So a lot of it has to go and once again, there are other ways. This isn't clinical. This is kind of what worked for me is rewire your brain to avoid those triggers. Mm-hmm. Rewire, replan, repurpose, redo.
Yeah.
Restart, reset. A lot of re's in there, if you will.
Yeah. Change the pathways here by changing the pathways here.
Exactly. Yeah. Make it tangible. Don't just say it.
Here. Yeah.
Do it. Right.
Yeah.
Call people. My older sister and my brother-in-law have been really, I think I don't want to get this wrong. They're 7 or 8 years sober now. And they do a lot with CR, a lot with Celebrate Recovery. Yeah. Find a group. That was another thing. My buddies and I had our own little group where we would talk about, hey, this is what I face today. Mm-hmm. This is when I get tempted here. You can't do it alone.
No, you can't, man.
You can't do it alone.
Waiting for you to say
that.
No,
I'm building it up. You can't do it alone.
Don't get caught up in the idea that you can't either. It's okay to it's okay to have other people. It's okay it's okay for you to get help and to ask for help, and it's okay for others to ask you for help.
Well, I think it goes back to what you're saying. We're so independent, right? We're so I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. Okay, good for you. But at what point do you recognize, I can't do this?
Yeah.
Right? I think it's so important. We are, as we are communal people, right? And if you lock yourself in a room, of course you're not going to get better. Like you said, find those people. Iron sharpens iron, right? Yeah. They say that you're an average of the 7 people that you spend the most time with. Yeah. And if you look at that, if whoa, is that true? Of course it's true. Mm-hmm. Surround yourself with people that are going to build you up, not break you down.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with someone that, hey, David, I'm really struggling today. I'm tempted. I just want to go have that drink, man. Mm-hmm. Surround yourself with someone that's going to say, hey, let's talk through that.
Yeah.
Why is it that you want to have that drink? What's going on? Are you okay? Be okay being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big emphases with a lot of these support groups is that community and that recognition that it's okay to hurt. It's okay to ask for help, but you got to put the work in. Yeah. You got to put that work in.
It's a hard 4-letter word these days.
Yeah. It's very hard.
It's very trying hard to get people to work.
Sure.
And,
sure.
This has been a great conversation, man. I think it's good to have people in our age group here talking about this stuff because the content we've created today can be used on a bunch of different platforms we have for people that are, going through stuff or having a hard time, and I think just the stigma that it's, I can thank my wife for this a lot too, is it's okay to talk and be vulnerable. I struggled with that for years, man. When I was a law enforcement officer, I would see a lot of people use alcohol as a way to kind of ignore what they saw or just the stress, you know what I mean? And like, I'm not going to jump into this victim mentality of like, oh, I saw this. And it's like, I chose to work that field. You know what I mean? I chose to be in those situations where heart was racing and you're kind of scared, or you see stuff you saw people, they lost their life. You saw like that was it. You saw their last breaths kind of thing, and that happened a couple times. But the best thing was just talking to somebody about it now, like just letting it out. Like, hey, what did you see? How did you feel? Kind of thing. Like, that was way more powerful than hitting the bottle.
You have to process it.
Because the bottle just suppressed it for a couple hours, right? And then it puts you in this state of mind where you're not really you.
Sure.
Right? So it's
it hasn't been processed at that point.
Yeah.
No, go for it.
Yeah, so like going out, like, oh, I'm just going to go out and like suppress this stuff. Like, it's just like, it's not even cool. You know what I mean? Like, and, when I was younger, I went out and stuff, and I look back now and I'm like I don't have any regrets. The only regret I have in life is I should ask my wife to marry me a little earlier. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I can go back and like definitively say, you know what, I should have been a little quicker on that, because she's such a great person, and I'm blessed to have her in my life. But like, I don't go back and like, I learned from all that stuff. But then there was like a point where I was like, you know what? Like, this really this isn't fixing what's going on. Like, this is just compounding kind of what could happen. And unfortunately, I've seen that compound with some people that I've known or have met, and some of them, they committed suicide. Yeah. Like they just were so stuck in that mode of just trying to suppress everything that they took their life, man. And it's like, if you would have just talked to somebody or like reached out and been okay with that. Yeah. Like, it bothers me.
My mom does suicide prevention for a living. So, So anytime I hear about, someone who's died by suicide, it is just, it's heartbreaking. Yeah. Right. That's another, I could tangent on that, but
you know what? And I don't mean to laugh at it. The only reason I'm laughing is because we have so much to talk about. And I think that we're going to have to do more episodes. Please. I think we're going to need to talk more. I think there's a lot that you have to offer people in our age group. Sure. And it's, they don't got to go pay money or anything for it, man. If they take one little thing, if we change one life out of this conversation, if we prevent one bad thing from happening, that's a W. Right?
Oh, of course. Quality over quantity.
Work is done, man. Like, that's pretty much it.
But is the work done?
No, it doesn't ever end.
But is
no,
the
not
work
in our
done?
world, man. No,
never.
No, we like, people don't realize, like, this podcast right now, we're choosing to be here. Are you getting paid right now?
Oh, of course not.
I'm not getting paid right now. None of us. Like, we're just not getting paid. Mm-hmm. We're doing this out of a choice we made, out of passion we have for helping others.
Sure. And I agree. I think we live in a world where we need more. I don't want to say we need more free advice, because that actually might be a bad thing, but we live in a world where people are afraid to share their opinions because it doesn't go with the status quo, right? We're afraid to share experiences because we think that we're going to be thought of differently, or we're going to be looked at, or people are going to think, oh, Kevin struggled with that. Who the heck is this guy? Yeah. You know what I mean? And so we need to promote vulnerability. Yeah.
And this is kind of going into the vulnerability thing. This is just me asking you a question, and I'll kind of give my perspective on this whole idea. When people get vulnerable online, on social media, with like all these followers they have, my opinion, nobody's asking right now. Okay, yeah. I know nobody's asking about this, but I don't feel like that's a good idea at all.
I think it depends on the purpose, right?
Yeah.
So if and this is going to sound like I'm bragging on us. I am a little bit, but that's not the point of it, of this, right? If you have someone who's going on Instagram, going on TikTok, whatever it is, purely to get likes, purely to get reactions, right? You sure, you might be emotional, you might actually have these real emotions, you might be sad, but why are you putting this online? Are you putting this online because, hey, feel bad for me? Or are you putting this online because, hey, I've been in your shoes before and I want to show you that, sure, it might suck right now, but this is where I was and this is where I am now, right?
Yeah.
So I think the purpose of it is where it... So I agree with what you're saying, I think, because I think that, yes, no one asked, but at the same time, there are a lot of people that don't ask because they're, once again, they're nervous, they're scared. Oh, what is this person going to think of me if I ask this question, right?
Yeah.
So I see both sides of it.
Yeah.
I think that in general, there are people that share way too much, and the purpose that they share it is primarily to, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
But then you have people on the other side where we're just having a conversation, right? We are here to inform. We are here to talk. We are here to share, right? But I could care less if you feel bad for me. And in fact, I don't want you to feel bad for me about my past, about the things that I've struggled with. I'm just simply here to say, hey, I've been in your shoes before and it sucks, and this is what I did to do better, right?
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. I see both sides of it in that regard.
Yeah. Thanks for taking on that.
Yeah.
That right there. That was,
of course.
I know it's a lot. I gave you a lot, huh? You didn't even know what it was.
No, I'm
Truth be told, you didn't even know what we were going to talk about.
No, I had no idea. I had no idea. It's like when you get called in the principal's office, or I get called and I'm like, hey, I need to talk to you really quick. Or hey,
you know what I found, man, is like we have some programs here that are like pre-produced, right? There's stuff that people get together, they have conversations, they put together small scripts, they have their notes and stuff like that. I came in here with the one statistic. That's all I brought this iPad for. And that was it. And I found that a lot of the really, really good stuff that we have, the ones that get a lot of listens and views, are a lot of the ones that we don't do the pre-production.
Sure.
Where we come in raw and we just go for it.
It's not forced. Kind of like what Clint and I were talking about earlier. It's not forced. It's not being squeezed out. It's coming naturally.
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin,
appreciate
it's been a pleasure
it,
having you, man. We'll get you back here.
Yeah, let me know,
do
man.
some more. You're natural, dude.
Thanks.
I see why OVCN grabbed you, man. I really
Thanks,
do.
man.
And they're lucky to have you, and
Thank you.
I'm lucky to have you in my life, man. I appreciate you.
it, brother.
All right.
God bless you, man.
Thank you. Hey, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Live the Dream Media. This is the Now You Know podcast, and we want to give a shout out to some sponsors that have made it possible for us to have our gear, for us to be able to put out these kind of messages. First one's selltoallen.com. The next one is Bulldog Inc., who has created all of this merch for us. You can go online, purchase it, have it shipped to your house with ease. They're a local provider.
That's a clean
Kevin's going to buy one soon.
Of course.
But if you want some stuff, we have some other things, some new hoodies and stuff coming out. Go check it out. Remember Bulldog Inc., it's over on Ina Road. Make sure you visit Local Marana. If you're in the Marana area, you're looking for businesses to work with, looking for things to do, food to eat, Local Marana. Thanks again, guys.